All right, everybody. This is the OHSF All-Decade team. Going to be introducing to you a very important receiver on this list for the team. I'll let him do the introductions himself, so take it away.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is ILOKI. I played at the University of Carleton. Started at St. Joseph Catholic High School in Barrhaven under Coach Scatchard, and I'm extremely thankful to have been submitted on the list and excited for this interview. So thank you very much for having me on, and I appreciate it.
Pleasure's all ours, Phil. We can say it was a pretty easy decision. We were pretty unanimous on having you on this list, and we felt like you were a very impactful player to the high school scene from 2010 to 2019 during that time. So before we get into the high school scene and whatnot, let's talk about your pathway getting into football and what your football background was.
Yeah, for sure. So I started playing in grade 4 with the Nepean Eagles, and my high school path was a little interesting. I didn't play till grade 10, right? Because all the way up grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, my parents never allowed me to play sports or do like extra stuff after school. It was always like, hey, go to school and then come back home right after. You know what I mean? And Mr. Scatchard was my gym teacher in grade 10. And I remember me and my friend Roshan were playing like football that day in gym class. And, we had a good day. And after he goes, yo, you ever consider playing high school football? And I was like, oh, I don't know. My mom's not like, too big into me doing extra stuff. She wants me to focus on school. And I was already playing NCAF at the time, right? So I was already doing football outside of school. So she's like, yeah, no, that's too much. Just go to school, come back home, do your homework, go to NCAF practice, and then come back home. You know what I mean? And so Mr. Scatchard actually invited my mom into the school, and we sat down and we kind of put a plan together where this is grade 10, right? So I don't have the ability to drive home and all that stuff. So like my mom also just didn't want me busing home and all that kind of stuff. So, we kind of put a plan together where I'd be able to get some help getting drives home, and where I didn't have to really attend all the practices and that kind of stuff. So it really worked out. Me and my friend Roshan ended up sticking on that team for the first year. We had a pretty decent year. I think we made it all the way to the semifinals that year. And that was my first year playing. Ended up starting with a bunch of really talented football players on that team. And then that kind of started. And from there on out, I didn't really look back in terms of, it never became a discussion in terms of if I was going to play high school football again. You know what I mean? Every year was kind of just like, all right, that's something I'm going to do. And yeah, so it was interesting. I remember feeling pretty upset because in grade 9, all my friends were playing. All my best friends were on the football team. And I was like, oh man, I'm never going to get the opportunity to play high school football. So I don't know, I kind of owe it all to Coach Scatchard, who helped me out, kind of convinced my mom at that point. So, yeah.
That's awesome. And yeah, I mean, we did miss you in grade 9, of course. Back then, was St. Joe's fielding a junior team, or would it have been varsity?
It was strictly varsity. I think junior came in the year after that.
Okay.
Yeah, junior came in a year after that.
There is some history, of course, of St. Joe's fielding 2 teams and whatnot, and that's great. But yeah, I mean, grateful that you ended up joining the varsity team in grade 10. And that's a perfect segue into your time in Ottawa high school football. Talk to me about some of those moments and maybe some of those positives or maybe some constructive moments that you had during your time playing high school football.
Well, so I think when I joined the team in grade 10, it was perfect segue for me because that's when I started taking football a little more seriously in terms of, okay, I might potentially want to do this at the next level. In terms of playing university, and then before that playing OVFL, playing provincial football, right? So I was really lucky growing up. There was a lot of like just ballers at the receiver position in Ottawa, like Tyrone Pierre, Ruben Charles, Seven Dupree, just a bunch of guys that I would like look up to. I remember when I used to play OVFL in the summer, like begging my parents to let me stay an hour after to just watch those guys play. Those guys are like superheroes to me. So a lot of those guys came through the Ottawa football league, or the high school level as well. So like getting a chance to play against like St. Pete's, where like Tyrone was and Quentin Soares was, it was an awesome experience. You know what I mean? And I think the best thing about the ability to play high school football is that at St. Joe's we took it so we took it so seriously, and it was so. I think it was different than other programs around the city, because I talked to my friends that go to Montessori and go to other schools, except for St. Pete's. I think St. Pete's took it pretty seriously, but like it was kind of like a university structure in terms of like, okay, we'd watch film, we'd break stuff down, we had a playbook. There were certain things that were expected of you, not only in terms of playing football, but the academic side, in terms of taking all that stuff seriously, in terms of prepping for games, So that atmosphere made it fun, right? So you combine that with the fact that you're playing with your best friends. So you just spent X amount of hours, in class, kind of goofing off or whatever, and then you get the chance to do that at practice after. It's the best feeling in the world. So having the chance to play with my best friend, Sean Barker, Theo Geddes, Alex Calsante, all those guys, that was something that I would never give back. But yeah, I think I was truly blessed at St. Joe's because you have the ability to get a serious level of football, right? Like I learned a lot, and I think it helped me prep for the university level. So that combination of having a real structured, real university vibe environment, but also that ability to have a fun, a good time. Like we had like mini camps at St. Joe's. We have real mini camps. So before school would start in late August or early September or whatever, we'd have training camps where we'd get together before school would start, and we'd have her just train or whatnot. And yeah, so I don't know. That's the experience that I wish I could do again, and it was great. It was great.
Yeah, and speaking of fun, you name drop Coach Scatchard and all your friends and whatnot. Understanding, I've had the honor of talking to and hanging out with Coach Scatchard. He's a guy who understands football quite well, and he knows what it takes to get guys to the next level and to help them prep. So can definitely say I also have learned from Coach Scatchard about prepping, film, and all of that stuff. So that's a great thing to drop on that. And then obviously playing with your friends going through the high school, that's probably the best thing about it. Can definitely relate to that, being a St. Pete's guy and also taking it seriously. St. Joe's was also one of those programs we knew was taking it very seriously and was trying to better themselves every year and was trying to knock off of St. Pete's. And we knew that. Yeah. And it's great to see that you guys had that mentality, and it's beautiful to know that you took that and took that to the next level. Just before we head into that question, do you remember a certain play or a certain moment that you remember in high school that's like your favorite play or anything? Can you walk us through that? Tell me about it.
Okay. I think my favorite play ever, it has nothing to do with me, but we were playing junior football, so that spring. And it was my friend, his name's Sean Barker, one of my best friends to this day. And it was his first time ever playing, he's never played football. He was like super small guy, kind of 5'6", 160 pounds, like this little guy, And he was playing linebacker at the time, and the game's kind of over, and they put him in the game. And his dad actually came to the game. Okay, his dad, works a pretty hectic job, but he was able to, find time to come to the game. And I think it was the second last play of the game or something, and he makes this crazy tackle on the sidelines, and everybody goes crazy. They're carrying him off the field and stuff, and everybody's chanting Rudy. And the end of the game, there's still like 5 minutes left of the game, but they just ended it because it just got like so crazy. And I think that's high school. That's high school football wrapped in one memory right there. Just like good times, good experiences. I remember like the championship game. I remember we lost in my senior year, my grade 12 year. We lost to St. Mark's, and I remember just like we got the honor of playing at TV Place, and I remember just being back in the locker room just like crying. All of us just crying. But it wasn't just like me. It was like every single person in that locker room was like crying, and it was like you understand how much it means to certain people. Like because not everyone gets a chance to go play at the next level, and not everybody wants to, right? It's not everybody's dreams and aspirations, but it just meant so much, because you spent 2 months grinding with your close friends and all that stuff, and when it's all over and everybody's gonna kind of do their own different thing, it's pretty tough. It's pretty sad. So I remember that was like a weird feeling just being in the locker room, and I remember I was crying and then looking around and everyone's crying. It's like, oh, like this really means. You understand how much it means to people, right? So yeah, that was those two memories kind of stick in my head. Yeah.
That's a beautiful memory. I mean, like the battling with your friends, your best friends, right? And realizing that, like you said, not everybody goes on to the next level, and that's okay, right? But you
Yeah,
cherish those memories forever, and that just like you, I can relate. Some of the guys that I played with in high school, we still talk about it to this day, and
oh yeah.
reminisce on that stuff. And it's a great experience to share with your friends while you're doing that.
Mhm.
But you, of course, Phil, were lucky enough to go to the next level, and that's moving on to our next question, and that's just asking for any student athlete right now going, of course, with COVID and 2020, and moving on to the future, looking forward to playing, university sport, youth sports, or NCAA. Can you talk to us about your pathway, the recruiting process, and how you ended up at Carleton, and then eventually being drafted into the CFL?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is the best advice because this is just my personal approach, you know. But how I did it was that everything for the most part is going to take care of itself, right? If you are good enough, you're going to land on, a given team or whatnot. But it's that not to look too forward to what's coming up ahead, but like take everything in stride and really work to perfect your craft in that moment, in that very moment, right? And kind of like respecting your high school coaches, respecting the coaches that you have in that moment, right? I feel like sometimes guys that are playing maybe OVFL that are playing club ball outside of high school, may get this idea that okay, I can kind of do whatever I want in the high school level because it's quote unquote high school or whatnot. But you don't understand that like if you don't go into those high school practices, those high school games with a serious approach, right, with a willingness to like okay, like I'm gonna get better and I'm gonna try my best to work on specific details, specific stuff, then you're never gonna really improve. You know what I mean? You're never gonna get to that level that you really want because once you do get to that next level, it's a shell shock, right? You're like, oh, I didn't know it was gonna be this hard. I didn't, right? Because you didn't take it seriously. But so kind of taking football seriously, kind of taking high school football seriously, kind of taking training seriously in the moment, but in the same time also having fun with it, because you can. It's so easy to get overwhelmed in the recruiting process. Be like, oh, this school that I really want to go to doesn't, they're not showing me love, or you don't feel that you're getting the attention that you deserve or whatnot. But like I said, everything's always going to work out. So making sure that you're enjoying yourself in that moment is something that I would really preach to those guys because you don't get that opportunity to do that again. For the most part, even if you listen, if you're like a decent player, you're gonna end up on some squad and some university team. So like I wouldn't stress too much about that. But you're never gonna get the opportunity to play high school football again with your with your best friend. So don't take that stuff for granted and take it seriously. At St. Joe's, I think it's easier for me to say because it's kind of expected of us. Like, we had, let me see if I can do the math on top of my head. We had Coach Sketch, we had Mr. Kelly, we had Mr. Prescott, a receiving coach. I think we had five coaches that are on our staff that all had university experiences. That's some teams in Ottawa don't even have one. You know what I mean? We were lucky enough to have five, and like four of the guys were all Canadians at the university level. That's pretty crazy. So I think I was lucky enough to. It was kind of like I was built in that structure. Where it's okay, like take your craft seriously. But I mean, all those guys. Those guys are like hilarious guys. Those guys are funny guys. Those guys are people that enjoy life. So we never took it too seriously, right? We had a bunch of fun, and so I don't know. My biggest advice would be take your craft seriously in the moment, right, and not look too far forward, but also have the best time that you can have with your friends because you never get that opportunity again.
Yeah. And going forward, of course, talking about the high school scene, moving on from high school, Carleton was an amazing experience for you. Of course, you ended up as an All-Canadian, and you also ended up having the opportunity to get drafted. Can you talk to us about that process and how that went for you?
Yeah, like I said, that was an awesome experience, and also, so like I said, I thought that I was someone that took playing receiver very seriously. But like I said, once you get into the next level, it's an experience that you have no idea about, right? Like you're playing guys that you're playing different athletes, and you're playing people that are truly taking the stuff seriously, right? You're playing people that are going into each practice and each training session with the goal in mind that hey, I'm gonna try very hard because this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, right? People are trying to be professional athletes. So once you get to that university level, it's a total switch. But I was pretty blessed to one, go to Carleton where I was able to play in front of all my friends and family, and then two, be surrounded by a bunch of guys that ended up doing very successful things. Nate Bahar, Tunde ILOKI, who's from Ottawa, Nate Hamlin, who's from Ottawa, a lot of local guys. So it was kind of easy for me, to be honest. I had a lot of guys that I can kind of reach out to from the Ottawa community. And like I said, like I remember my first week, or my first training camp, sorry, I remember like driving back to St. Joe's and just meeting with Coach Scatcherd for like 2 hours and just talking about everything. Okay, how's everything going? How can I help you improve this? Like, what do you need from me? You know what I mean? And those were kind of mentorships that I wouldn't have been able to have if I would have went elsewhere in the OUA or out in the country. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have the opportunity to just call up Mr. Scatcherd and be like, hey, can I come swing by your office because I need some help here and there. I don't know. So having that support from the Ottawa community is a big reason why I decided to stick around and go to Carleton. And I wouldn't trade that up for the world. I mean, whatever happened, like the cool games and having the ability to be an OUA All-Star and being drafted, that's all like fun stuff. But like I said, similar to the high school experience, there's nothing like playing with the people that you're going to build memories on for the rest of your life, right? Playing with your best friends, traveling the country with your best friends, and just sharing those experiences, right? Similar to high school, like there's not a week that goes by where in a group chat or something like a funny moment doesn't pop up, like, oh, do you guys remember when this and this happened, or like, and half that stuff doesn't have to do with like experience that happened on the field. It's all like, do you guys remember when this happened on the bus, or like in the hotel room, or at a party, or it's I don't know, kind of living the moment is kind of the approach that I've always taken. So going forward, that's always I think that's what I would preach to the young guys coming up right now is, I know there's a lot of stress right now in terms of you wanted to get to this level, or you wanted to go D1, or you wanted to go play for Western or whatnot, but just live in a moment and appreciate what you have now.
Man, that's some amazing insight, and I really like how you kind of simplified the aspects of high school football in terms of just enjoying that moment, because it's true. Sure. It's once you graduate from high school, those memories live on, but the situation is done, right? And wherever you guys end up in the world, just like yourself, who's in London, England right now, you like you said, you still have that group chat, you still have your coaches, you can still reach out to these guys, and it's amazing to see the relationships and the bonds that you've formed with those people. And
sure.
Just before we head out, I just want to say, congratulations again on making this team, and being recognized by Coach Scatch, Coach Kelly, and all of these guys who clearly had an amazing impact on your career, as you said. Yeah. And it's really nice to see that, because it shows that the work as coaches that we are doing is quite gratifying, and it is having some impact. And I really hope to see yourself go on with Toronto and have a successful CFL career. And if there's anything else going on, feel free to talk about it.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, that's I don't. So this is the kind of thing to clear up. I'm actually not playing with the Argos. I was drafted, but I decided to. I never really had the intentions of playing at the professional level. So that's something that kind of came about, where I told them that I wasn't going to be a part of the team going forward. But so right now I'm just in the UK pursuing my master's in international relations.
And again, that just goes to show you that's okay, right? You don't have to pursue that career, and you can be a professional in other things. Sometimes it's the better career path, it's the better career choice, right? You have to look at and weigh the pros and cons in that situation, and understand that sometimes pro football or university football going forward isn't for you, right? And that's completely okay. And I'm absolutely, I'm loving the fact that you are pursuing your master's in London, and that's a very big thing to do as well. And I wish you the best in all your studies too.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I appreciate it, man. Like you said at the start of the interview, you can't really do, if your grades aren't where they're supposed to be, you don't really have a chance to play. But some of the best guys in Ottawa to come out of Ottawa didn't get the opportunity to play university football or to go forward, just because they struggled academically or they weren't able to. So I mean, whoever's listening to this stuff, take that stuff seriously, because you can be the best player in the world, but I've seen a lot of really good players in this region not making where they were supposed to be because that kind of stuff hung them up. So make sure you take it seriously, for sure.
Well, thanks again for your time, Phil, and we'll hopefully touch base again soon. This was OHSF's all-decade team. We had our receiver, Phil ILOKI, join us, and we're signing off. All the best, Phil.
I appreciate it, man. Have a good day, man. Thank
Take
you.
care.